It's finally here, the Snyder Cut. I can't believe it. It seems insane that we finally got it, but we did, and I actually enjoyed it. I didn't expect to. I actually like most of Zack Snyder's movies I've seen. I love Man of Steel. I enjoy Watchmen 300. I just hated Batman v Superman, so I was not expecting to like his Justice League, but it was actually pretty good and a fun time. And if you have the chance to watch it, I recommend it. Probably the most impressive thing about the movie to me is the pacing. It's a 4-hour movie, but it doesn't really feel like it. I did take an intermission. I took like a 15-minute intermission at part 4 to go get some food, and yeah, it didn't really feel like it dragged that much. The pacing was done really well. For the most part, you're interested in most of what's going on. There's a few parts that drag a little bit, a little boring, like at first when they're talking, like when the Atlanteans are talking, there's some stuff that you just kind of like, I don't really care about this and the stupid air bubbles. But for the most part, the pacing was really well done. And I was extremely impressed by that because it's a 4-hour movie. And I was like, oh man, this is going to drag. But actually, it flowed really well. So there's the non-spoiler section of this video. It's a good time. Definitely watch it if you had the chance to. Now we're going to get into spoilers. I'm going to be all over the place with this sort of review discussion. I think the best way to do this is to go by character. So let's start off by talking about Flash, because he is the one that's the most 50-50 to me. And again, this is spoiler, so spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. Here's your spoiler warning. Anyways, let's talk about Flash, because he's very 50-50 for me. Because the characterization of Flash is very annoying for the most part, but the way they display his powers is awesome, and some of the best parts of the entire movie involve Flash. Like, the way they display his powers is so cool. Especially considering we have seen super speed on the big screen so many times now with all these different movies that we've had already, but Zack Snyder still finds a cool, unique way to show Flash using the Speed Force, and it looks awesome. One of my favorite parts was when he's saving the civilians from the debris that's falling down, and you get to see where it's finally not slow motion. Because most of the time you see Flash, it's slow motion so you can see what he's doing, but here you see it from the perspective of the people that he's saving, and they just see, well, flashes and glimpses of him as he's grabbing the debris, and it looks so cool. And just, yeah, everything about his power is awesome. Ezra Miller still has a really weird way of running. Like, he doesn't run like a normal person. He kind of like starts from back here and like flips his wrists, and it's really weird. Like, his run's super awkward, but aside from that, when Flash is running around, it looks so cool. Now, the characterization of Barry Allen, it gets better as the movie goes on. The introduction, so him when he uses his powers to save Iris is great. I love that scene. But the introduction of him as a character when he's applying for that job is awful. He's just doing all these quips that are just not funny at all. Nothing's landing. He doesn't feel like Barry Allen. He doesn't even feel like Wally West. He feels like a really over the top Wally West from the Justice League animated show. Like that character turned to 11. Like really, really, really over the top is how he feels. He doesn't feel like Barry or, again, like really even Wally. Just like a really more over the top version of Wally. And it's really annoying. But yeah, that scene where he's just like, he's taking out his application and or his resume, and he's like, he's just quipping to her the whole time. It's like, no human being acts like this, and Barry especially does not act like this. But then the scene starts where he starts saving Iris, and I love the track that plays during that, and everything about the scene's really cool. How he's thinking about sort of how to disguise himself. Like, he grabs the hot dog, and then he goes to the dogs, and he's like, that was sort of his sort of disguise during that moment of, oh, well, all that was going on, I was over here feeding the dogs this hot dog, that's what the dogs, I wasn't out there going in super speed saving someone. But yeah, the introductory scene represents Flash in this movie perfectly. By that I mean, it shows that his powers are really cool, but him as a character is incredibly annoying. So that's kind of how Flash is in this movie. But later on, we get some good moments with him. I liked everything between him and his father is honestly great, because he's not just constantly joking. But when he's joking, it's like, the jokes with Flash, because he's 90% of the comedy in this movie. There's not a whole lot, but there is more than most Snyder movies. He's like 90% of it, and most of it does not land. There are some okay moments, like when he first gets recruited by Bruce. I like that, because Bruce this whole time had a hard time getting people to join the Justice League. Like, he had trouble getting Aquaman. One of them struggled with Cyborg, and then they asked Barry, and Barry's immediately like, I'm in. And that part was kind of funny. But for the most part, a lot of his quips don't really land. But man, every time he uses his powers, it's awesome. That final scene where he saves everyone was so cool, and I like how they set that up earlier, because when they're saving Superman and he has to hit the mother box, he has to charge the mother box at the exact perfect time, and he misses it. So he reverses time to get it at the perfect time. They set that up so that way later on in the movie you already have like, oh yeah, Flash can reverse time when he's too late because Darkseid comes and kills everyone. I thought that was great, and making Barry the one that saves everyone is really cool and gives him something to do. I also loved how the first time that they fight Steppenwolf, Barry is on saving people duty. It was similar to like, but now the scene is completely different, but I mean same sort of deal in the Whedon cut, to where you have this guy Flash who has never been in a fight before. Like, he has these amazing powers, but he's never fought anyone before, so he's kind of very new to this. So you don't want to have him fighting parademons and Steppenwolf, so you put him on saving people duty, and I like that, and it made sense, and that scene plays out great. And yeah, so Flash overall I did enjoy him, but there are some very cringy and annoying scenes with him, but everything with his powers is great. Let's move on to Superman, who, as most of you guys know, is my favorite character in all of fiction. I love Superman. I loved him in Man of Steel. I thought in Batman v Superman, it was like Man of Steel was one step forward, and Batman v Superman was two steps back, is how I feel about Superman in the DCEU. I did not like his portrayal at all, in that it was not handled well. Let's just say that. What they did to Superman, Batman v Superman, I was not a fan of at all. But in this, he was handled pretty well. There are some amazing scenes. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he goes onto the Kryptonian ship to get his suit, and you start hearing the flashbacks from Man of Steel of his two fathers, and it's amazing. I love that scene. It's so good. And then the flight theme starts playing when he takes off, and it's so good. Again, Superman doesn't really have much to do in this. He's not a huge part of the movie. It's not like in the Whedon cut, it was literally like the entire movie was, we need to bring back Superman because we have no chance of defeating him. And this is kind of like, we're going to stop this, like, Steppenwolf from happening no matter what. But then partway through, they discover, oh, we could probably bring Superman back. That would help our odds a lot. And I like that. I like that the entire movie isn't on, we're hopeless unless Superman's here. I like that. But yeah, Superman doesn't have a whole lot to do in this, but when he does show up, it's awesome. I thought him taking off Steppenwolf's horn was a little much. Like, it looked cool, but I don't think that needed to happen. Like, he just comes and just shakes his horn. I was like, oh, okay, that was a little much for Superman. I don't think he needed to do that, but it's not like a gripe or anything. I don't really care that much. I know some people will probably get very upset about that. I didn't care too much, but I did think it was not necessarily needed. His fight with the Justice League plays out very similarly to how it did in the Whedon cut, except it looks better because it's not like the saturation is turned up all the way. Like, the color grading's much better in this. As much as I don't like how dim everything looks in Snyder's movies, it still looks way better than how awful it looked in the Whedon cut when everything was just saturation all the way up. But yeah, that fight's so cool. I love it when when Flash is going to circle around Clark, and Clark's eye traces him, and just, like, Flash is not used to that because every time he's in the Speed Force, no one can see him, but then Clark can see him, and I thought that was really cool. And yeah, Superman was handled pretty well here. Some of the stuff that looked like they wanted to do in the future with him, I'm not the biggest fan of. Some of Zack Snyder's future plans were to have Superman become Darkseid's right-hand man through the anti-life equation in the second movie. He was going to have, like, Lois die, and that was going to make Superman susceptible to the anti-life equation, and he was going to be Darkseid's right-hand man, and I guess just help him kill pretty much everyone. And then Flash was going to reverse things, and then Superman was going to become, like, the big hero in the third one, the leader of the Justice League, because Batman was going to die. So that stuff sounds interesting, but I don't really want to see that because we have enough evil Superman stories I've talked about before. I don't need more evil Superman. It's very lazy, and we've seen it done a billion times before. But we'll talk about that another time, about Zack Snyder's future plans. But for this movie, Superman was handled well, and I liked it. And again, that scene, it's one of the best scenes in the movie when he goes on the Kryptonian ship. His black suit looks great. And so in the movie, there's no explanation for why he grabs the black suit. He just does. In Zack Snyder's interviews, he talked about how the black suit helps him charge up more, and the fact that it was used in the comics, so that's why he wanted to do it. So that's good enough for me, but I do wish there would have been something about, like you could have just had Keelex explain, be like, oh, Clark, or Kal-El, this suit helps you charge up faster, you might want to grab it. Like, you could have had Keelex just say something. You could have just had a throwaway line in there, because in the movie it's kind of like, it's not a gripe or anything. It doesn't really take anything away. It just is kind of weird. It's like, why would he grab the black and not the and not the normal suit. It doesn't really make sense, but again, it's not like a gripe or anything. It's just like I feel like he could easily thrown in Keelix just having a throwaway line in there just to say it. But overall, I enjoyed Superman in this movie. It's just he's not a big part of it. And he doesn't have much to do, but when he is, it's there. He's cool, and him beating the crap out of Steppenwolf is awesome. And yeah, I enjoyed Superman in this movie. Please give me more Henry Cavill as actual Superman, not evil Superman, but actual Superman. That Christopher McQuarrie Man of Steel sequel, I know it's never gonna happen, but man, I wish. Now let's move on to Wonder Woman. I really enjoyed Wonder Woman in this movie. She's much better than she was in Wonder Woman 1984, and better than she was in Batman v Superman. A lot of people liked her in Batman v Superman. I personally didn't care for her in Batman v Superman. I liked her in her Wonder Woman solo outing. I didn't care for her in 1984 because 1984 was just a terrible movie. But in this, she's cool. She's really badass. Her opening scene when she goes and kills all those terrorists is great, and I honestly loved it because she's Wonder Woman. She has no reason to leave these terrorists alive. Like, she goes in there and she, like, that scene is such a cool action scene. All the action scenes in this are great and way better than the Whedon cut. Like, the way the action is done, it's so much better. But Wonder Woman's speed and how she takes out all these terrorists is so cool. It is still incredibly goofy the way she blocks all those bullets to save the people. She like crouch walks and then like blocks it, and it looks so dumb. Like the rest of the action in that scene, great, amazing. But when she's like crouch walking, like it looks so stupid. It's hilarious and like had me laughing during that scene. But up until then, it's really cool. And then when she takes out the guy by slamming her bracelets, man, it just looks like she murders all the children in that building, because they're on this like upper floor, and she goes and she could easily just take the guy out by punching him, or like she did everyone else, or doing literally anything. But she's like, I'm going to use my most powerful move to take out this one single guy, even though I could easily take him out right now without having to do that. And she does it, and then the camera goes outside, and we see the entire like floor they're on explode. And it's like, oh, all those children are dead now. Now, of course, they're not dead. Like, it was a blast that only went forward and didn't go out everywhere else, and the children are fine. But man, it just looks like Wonder Woman murdered all of those children. So that part had me laughing as well. When it looks like Wonder Woman just kills everyone on that floor. After initially what looks like saving everyone from a bomb, she kills everyone. That's what it looks like. Oh God, Wonder Woman just murdered all of those children. Well, why would she do this? But yeah, her introduction scene's cool. The action's really good. I like how when she hits a guy with a lot of force and they smack into a wall, you see a blood splatter to be like, yeah, this guy's dead. It's not like, you know, in the Marvel movies when Captain America like freaking Sparta kicks a guy into a wall and then like you hear the crunch, but there's like nothing happening and they're still moving. It's like, no, that guy's dead. They do that here with Wonder Woman. I enjoyed that. And yeah, throughout the movie, she's done pretty well. She's kind of upset about Steppenwolf killing her Amazonian sisters. So she's on the warpath to go after him. Yeah, she's really cool in this movie. She has a lot of great action scenes, and I enjoyed Wonder Woman. She, of course, her and Batman are kind of the main character-ish in this movie because, you know, it's them two putting together the League. And yeah, I enjoyed Wonder Woman's portrayal in this movie much more than Wonder Woman 1984. Next up, we have Batman. Batman is, again, like probably the main character of the movie, him and Wonder Woman. So in the action scenes, he doesn't have like much to do at all. Like in the final action scene, they just haven't taken out parademons. He does save Barry, so there's that. Like that's kind of the most important thing he does action-wise. But other than that, he doesn't have a whole lot to do when it comes to the action in the movie, which makes sense because they're taking on Darkseid. Well, not Darkseid. They're taking on Steppenwolf and parademons. So of course, Batman's not gonna be able to do anything to Steppenwolf. And if he is, that makes no sense because then that makes everyone else obsolete. Because it's like, yeah, if Batman could do something to them, then single-handedly Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Superman, any of them could just destroy Steppenwolf. So you can't have, you know, Batman be too effective against him. But yeah, I like Batman. I love Ben Affleck as Batman. He's great. Even Batman Superman, which I did not like, Ben Affleck was great in that. And he has the best live-action suit for any Batman we've ever seen on the big screen. It looks so good. I miss his suit. It's so great. Like, I can't wait for Robert Pattinson as Batman. That trailer looked awesome. But man, I'm going to miss the Batfleck suit. It looks so good. And yeah, I love it. And Ben Affleck is like, he's got some more charm to him in this than he did in Batman v Superman. I like it. I like his character. I like his portrayal of Bruce in Batman this. Because in Batman v Superman, he was just so angry all the time, constantly, which sometimes Batman is. But in this, he has a bit more character to him, and I like it. I really like this Bruce Wayne, and I think he's really cool. Yeah, I like Batman in this movie a lot. It's sad we're not going to see much more besides Flashpoint, most likely, but who knows. That final scene between him and Joker is great. I heard very 50-50 things. I heard, like, some people loved it, and some people hated it. They're like, this is so dumb, this is stupid. It does feel very tacked on. Like, it's kind of weird because you have, like, the real ending of the movie, and then they just tack on the scene. So I guess in terms of, like, the flow and the pacing and, like, the structure, it doesn't make sense. But in terms of just, like, a scene, I thought it was really well done. I enjoyed it. Like, and that's kind of like what the Snyder Cut is. You know, you want to see this stuff. So I was happy with it, and I thought it was great. They're back and forth, where they're both just like they're supposed to be surviving this apocalypse together, but they're still Batman and Joker, so they're just digging into each other. And I love it when Joker's just like, "Why would you send a boy wonder to do a man's job?" Batman's like, "When Harley was dying in my arms, she promised to make me kill you slowly, and I will." Like that was great and such an intense scene together. Too bad we won't get more of that. But yeah, it was good. I liked the nightmare sequence. Now let's move on to Cyborg, who, poor Cyborg, like, he definitely got, in the Whedon cut, got the worst of it. He got the shaft big time in the Whedon cut. Like, in terms of, like, what they do in this movie compared to the Whedon cut, he literally had nothing to do in that movie. Like, he didn't even really need to be there. In this, he's a huge part of it. His backstory is actually interesting. You're invested in a lot of what he's doing. There are some parts that are a little silly because he's supposed to be, I think he's supposed to be college, I believe. He's supposed to be, like, college age, so he's supposed to be younger. And, he's, like, upset at his dad for things, but then you look at Ray Fisher and he's like a 30-year-old man that's 250 pounds. So when he's pouting about his dad, it's like, it's kind of silly at some moments when he's like pouting about his dad and he's got that face on, and it's just like, dude, you're like a 30-year-old man that's 250 pounds. You're a ginormous human being, and to see you complaining about your dad's it's kind of funny. I know no one's really gonna agree with me there, but I thought there were some moments in the movie where I was just like, this is kind of funny. But I enjoyed Cyborg's story. I thought he was actually interesting. He has something to do. I like his end moment with Superman and Flash, and they don't really. I thought they were gonna delve more into like the Cyborg Flash relationship because they wanted those two to be more like friends in the DCEU and be buddies. And so I thought we were gonna get more of that in the Snyder Cut. We didn't really get much of it. It's kind of similar to in the Whedon Cut. We got a little bit more, but not much. But yeah, I thought Cyborg was done well, way better than the Whedon Cut. He gets the biggest facelift out of anyone from the Whedon Cut to this movie, because he gets treated much better, and he's an actually interesting character. I still don't absolutely love Cyborg or anything. Like, Cyborg is always a character that in the comics, he's always kind of boring and not too interesting. The most interesting he was in the Teen Titans TV show, but in this, he's treated much better, and he does have an interesting backstory, and I actually like Cyborg, which is saying something. So yeah, Cyborg's done much better. Character that got the shaft in both the Whedon Cut and this movie is Aquaman, though. Poor Aquaman has almost nothing to do in this movie. He contributes to them just destroying Steppenwolf at the end, but other than that, he kind of like delays a wave, like a tidal wave, and that's kind of it. Like that's all he does. Like, poor Aquaman has nothing to do with this movie. He's kind of like gets told some things from some Atlanteans, and he drinks alcohol. And that's it. Aquaman has like nothing to do with this movie. And now, I love the Aquaman movie, by the way. I think that movie's great. I really enjoy it. It's a silly, fun time. I really enjoy that movie. But since this was supposed to be, the first outing of Aquaman, the first time we see him, they do surprisingly little for him. Even in this Snyder Cut, like, Aquaman, he's one of the weaker points in the movie. Like, I enjoy this movie, but Aquaman doesn't really get done justice in this movie. He doesn't really get to do anything, or yeah, he's kind of similar to how he was in the Whedon Cut. There's just Aquaman's just kind of there, and he occasionally does some stuff and like yells, and that's it. Which is kind of sad because I loved him in his own solo movie, but in this movie he's just kind of there. But yeah, he does contribute to the absolute ass kicking of Steppenwolf. Let's talk about Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf, much better than he was in the Whedon Cut. Still nothing to write home about, though. Steppenwolf still isn't like, oh man, all-time comic book movie villain or amazing. Like, you don't really care about him. When he has his calls with Darkseid and Darkseid, and they're like, you were banished for betraying Darkseid or whatever, you still don't care. They don't even go into detail about it or anything. Like, there's no reason to care about him at all. Like, he's kind of like, he's there, and you're just like, man, I just want Darkseid. Now, he does have some badass scenes, though, where he just tears people apart. Like, when he tears apart the Amazons, it is awesome. Like, that was so cool in the beginning of the movie. Early parts of the movie, when he goes and gets the mother box, and then he just starts tearing apart Amazons. It looks so cool. And he has a couple scenes like that where he's just taking people apart, and I really enjoyed that. But him as a character, The CGI quality of him is great. It's much better than the Whedon Cut. The Whedon Cut, his CGI looked awful. In this, the CGI quality looks great. It looks good. But his design is still ass. It's terrible. I hate it. I like the idea of the sort of reactive suit that's kind of living and moving. I kind of like that idea. But him just being another generic gray, like silver CGI monster. Come on, dude. We've got some cool like designs for Steppenwolf in the comics. You could take the original Kirby design, or you take the updated New 52 design. Either one works and looks 10,000 times better than what we got. Because he just looks like an idiot. He does. And then when he takes his like wardrobe off to address Darkseid, he looks even dumber. He looks like someone took some refried beans and like formed like a deformed ox or something. He looks really dumb, but the CGI quality looks much better than it did in the Whedon Cut. So at least there's that. But his design still looks terrible. And him as a character, like as a villain, he's all right. Like he's not bad, but he's not like good either. He has some cool scenes, but you don't really care about him at all. You're kind of just like, yeah, he's kind of filler for Darkseid. Give me Darkseid, you know? But yeah, Steppenwolf's there. Now let's talk about Darkseid. Darkseid's not really in this movie at all much. He's in a little bit. We get that flashback scene, the history lesson, which Gal Gadot talks over. But we get that where we get to see the Age of Heroes, where Zeus and all of them start fighting Darkseid and stop the initial invasion. I thought it was cool, but I wish it would have been a little longer. It felt really short, and I get, you know, one of them just giving them a brief, like, this is what happened, so you're not going to get, like, the whole scope of it. But still, it felt like they defeated Darkseid in 5 seconds. It felt like Darkseid landed, like, freaking hit the ground and caused some lava, and then Zeus and all of them were like, nah, and then he just pieced out. Like, it just felt like really quick. I wish it was a little longer. That poor Green Lantern that got destroyed. It was funny, though, I watched an interview with Zack Snyder, and he's talking about, because they're asking, like, what Green Lantern was, and he couldn't remember who it was, but he's like, it was some prehistoric lantern. He's like, we did a deep dive on Green Lanterns, and we looked in and found, like, some prehistoric Green Lantern, and that's who we wanted to use. So they used that guy. That guy gets his ass kicked by Darkseid. I wish we would have seen a little more of that battle, but they looked cool, like the Age of Heroes. I think was it Poseidon or King Atlan? I can't remember. I think it was King Atlan. I love that he just spams the one move. Like, he has his staff, and he just hits the ground with it, like, 20 times. Just, that's all he does. He does nothing else throughout the battle. But it makes sense. That's what I'd do. If that's your best move and it works, just spam it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just like if I was Wonder Woman, every time I'm in a fight, I am just freaking banging my bracelets against each other, because there's no reason to do anything else. Like, that is the most effective move. It makes sense. So I like that with King Atlan, and Zeus and all of them look sick. The casting for Zeus had to be just like guy that does all of the steroids all of the time, because that dude was just juiced out of his mind. Granted, that's what you need for a Greek god. The dude looked like a Greek god, but my god, that dude was humongous in terms of like just ginormous, dude. And I like how they made them bigger than all the normal people, the Greek gods. I thought that was cool. But yeah, that scene was cool, but I wish we had a little more. I wish it was a bit longer, but it was still good. And yeah, aside from that, we don't get much from Darkseid. We get a little bit of him talking to Steppenwolf. We get a little of him in the end when everyone dies and then Flash reverses it. But other than that, we don't get much from Darkseid. So I saw some people really like gushing over Darkseid, be like, it was awesome, this movie. I'm kind of indifferent about him because there's not enough to really judge anything about him. I wish his blue was more blue, like more vibrant and like blue, because it looks black. So I wish there was that, because I want to see the actual, like, you know, Darkseid design instead of just, hey, it's another gray dude in black. But yeah, Darkseid was kind of whatever in this movie. Anyways, Desaad had an awesome voice. I'll say that. Desaad's voice was the coolest voice in this movie. Every time Steppenwolf had a freaking Skype call with him, I was like, Desaad's voice is the best part of the movie, because Steppenwolf has that kind of voice, kind of like Bane, not in terms of it sounding like Bane, but in terms of, you know how Bane had that voice that was, you could understand him, but you had to really pay attention to understand him. That was kind of Steppenwolf, with like how his voice was and like the effect on it. It was kind of like you can understand him, but you gotta pay attention. Where Desaad just had a straight up like awesome sounding voice that sounded perfect for Desaad. But I don't think there's too much else to talk about. The action overall was done really well. There's a lot of cool action scenes. I like the soundtrack. Of course, everyone's talking about how the Wonder Woman theme is overused 100%. Not the Hans Zimmer theme, but the new one where like a lady kind of just like yells. Yeah, that's used way too much. It's a good track, but literally every time Wonder Woman shows up, just that track starts playing. Even if Wonder Woman like shows up for 5 seconds, they'll play that for 5 seconds and then they'll switch off to something else. I did think it was hilarious when Steppenwolf got absolutely brutalized at the end. Like Superman beats the crowd. Like Superman is punching him for like what feels like 2 minutes straight, while everyone just kind of stares at him. He's like, heat vision punch, 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 heat vision punch. It looks hilarious. And then like, you know, Superman cuts his horn off and then just freaking punches him, and then or wait, I can't remember the sequence of events. I remember one of them takes his head off at the end. I think Aquaman stabs him and then like throws him, or like Superman punches him and then Wonder Woman takes his head off. It's hilarious. It's so over the top. It's hilarious. I feel sorry for any Steppenwolf fans. If there's like hardcore Steppenwolf fans, they did your boy dirty. But it is funny to see them just absolutely brutalize Steppenwolf in this way. But I know that's exactly what would happen. Something similar to that would happen to Deathstroke if they did if they put Deathstroke in the Batman movie. Batman and the Bat family will end up beating Deathstroke's ass like that in the end. I know it. That's just how DC treats Deathstroke. But yeah, I don't think there's much else to talk about. For this video, at least, I am doing a podcast on this as well, which will be linked in the description. You can listen to it on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. So in that, me and my brother will be going over like way more in this. I just kind of wanted to do a general thing of get my thoughts out there about the Snyder Cut, because I know not everyone listens to the podcast, but that will be linked in the description if you want to listen to the podcast. It's not out yet, but it'll be out soon. And yeah, please let me know in the comments below what did you guys think of the Snyder Cut. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.